One. Good Woch, a good chodesh, happy chanukah to everyone. Rosh chodesh teves. Here we are. It's a Shabbos. Sichos Haran, sipurey baal shemtov, and Pashas Miketz is what we read today. What an amazing message this Parsha is giving over. Obviously, there are quite a few, but the Zohar says that Pashas Miketz means the end. So there are two types of Miketzes, as it were. There is, as the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, Ketz kol basar balafanai, but the mabel, the end of all flesh has become before me. And then there is another Miketz, which is quite the opposite, which is Ketz sam lachoshech. Kadosh Baruch Hu puts an end to the darkness. The first one we mentioned is obviously, a very severe judgmental consequence. Ketz kol basar balafanai. Rabbeinu says in Torah Madalad, Rabbeinu says that Ketz kol basar, the end of all flesh, the negative format of ketz, of end, is a very specific yitzhar that is very prevalent, and it entices people to find out what's wrong with other people. Like I can't believe this. Like, what's wrong with them, and what's the idea, and they know exactly what is wrong with everyone, and they know precisely who's to blame. It's never them. It's always somebody else. It could be your parents, could be your children, it could be your wife, it could be your husband, it could be the prime minister, it could be the mayor, it could be whoever it is that you want. It's never you. And Zohar says that this week's Parsha, Miketz, is ki ketz sam lachoshech. The experience that Yosef is having, he's in jail. He's in a pit in jail for 10 years. Then 2 more years, after he tells the minister of libations to remember him and to mention him to Paro. It seems, the whole thing seems like a forever and a half. It's like whenever it is that low laner people go through whatever they go through, it seems to last forever. But it doesn't, because it gets some choshech. There's an end to every choshech. I'm not sure who it is that says mentions it. I heard it today. That the miracle of Chanukah is the very fact that not that the oil lasted for 8 days, but the fact that they found the oil to begin with, that they find the oil at all. And there's another saying that when somebody goes through or by the whole of Yosef, was that pit that Yosef was in jail, or maybe even the pit that the brothers put him in. I'm not sure which one. So it's supposed to make a bracha. Let's say it's probably the pit in jail. It's supposed to make a bracha she'asa nisim la'avoseinu b'mokom hazeh. Made miracle to our forefathers in this place. And it needs a little thinking here. The miracle was that Yosef became a king, became the ruler of Egypt. The miracle is that, that the oil that they burned, lasted for 8 days. So why that the Torah authority says the miracle was finding the oil? Just a little bit. And you make a bracha on the miracle, the hole where Yosef was jailed in. So what sense does that make? It can be illuminated a little bit, perhaps, by the Kuta Alochas that Reb Nosson writes. He gives the answer to the very famous, probably the most famous kasha of the B'si Yosef about Chanukah. He says, why do we celebrate 8 days? There was enough oil for 1 day, which means that 1 day was al piteva, was natural. 7 extra days were, extraordinary. But for 1 day there was enough. So that's the kasha of the B'si of that. I don't know, literally hundreds or even thousands of different explanations of terutzim to that kasha. It's a very famous kasha. So Reb Nosson writes about this. He gives his own teretz to this kasha. And he says as follows: the whole union of Chanukah is unnatural. So both Chanukah and Purim, in fact, are beyond time. Chanukah, expands over 8 days. Excuse me, just apologize. Chanukah stretches for 8 days. We know that a time unit is 7 days. A week is 7 days. This world is 7 days. The whole metzius of this world is timed by 7. There's the 7 directions of the up, down, left, right, forwards, and backwards in the middle. So these are the 7 dimensions of reality. The 8th is a step beyond. Any kind of 8 is already beyond nature. So Chanukah is stretches over 8 days. Sukkot is 7 days. You have Shmini Atzeres on the 8th day, but it's a separate holiday. It's not Sukkot. Sukkot is 7 days. Pesach is 7 days. A whole unit is 7. Comes Chanukah, covers 8. What's the story with that? We have a different kind of. So this is one aspect where Chanukah is beyond time. It's beyond nature. Purim, in a very different way, is also beyond time, because in our days it's limited to 2, but when the Gemara brings in Maseches Megillah the Maisa, there is no fixed day for Purim. This is it's at least at their times, there's. It says the Megillah is laid by the 12th of Adar, the 13th of Adar, the 14th of Adar, and the 15th of Adar. So it all depends on where they were. People were in the villages, in the kind of cities. Because where did you ever hear about a holiday that is a moving target? It doesn't have, it's not a pinned down date. That's because Purim and Chanukah are both beyond time, both beyond nature. And L'maisa, these are the 2 holidays that will never ever end, never cease. In Asad Lovid. So Asad Lovid, all the other Yom Tovim are going to be canceled except for Hanukkah and Purim. So Rosh says as follows, we have, when you are counting the Sefirot, that you have the 3 on top, which are constitute the head, which is Chochmah Bina Das, right? And some Das is sometimes under the Chochmah, we say under the Bina, sometimes there's Kesef Chochmah Bina, and then you have the 7 Sefirot of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, that's a Chod Yisod, and you have Malchus. When you are counting the 7 days, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Chod Yisod, Malchut, when you're counting them from below, when you're counting up, the 7th finishes at Chesed, right? Yeah, Malchus and the Yisod, and the Hod, the Netzach, the Gvura, and then the Chesed. Okay, you have 7. Beyond that, the 8th one is the Bina. That's the one that is the originator. That's the one that everything comes from that. The Bina is beyond the realm of time. Therefore, the Bina is unseen. The Bina is the source. The Bina is called Mother. The Mother is the one that gives birth to all the 7 spheres that come after it. That's what, at Chanukah, the place of miracles is in the Bina, but the Bina is beyond time. Bina is called the 8th day. It's the time where all the miracle happens there. But when you look at it with, normal human eyes, you don't see any miracles at all. Which means as follows. It sounds complicated, but it's really simple. It is quite obvious that the miracle that, the oil that was lit on the first day, as much as it was, it was enough for one day, but it didn't finish on that day, right? It burnt another day and another day and another day. All the 8 days it took in order to prepare the oil and bring it to Beis HaMikdash, which means that the oil itself, the miracle itself, was in the oil of that first day, where it looked totally natural. It should burn for a day. As human beings, we took a look a second and said, check it out. Wow, unbelievable. It lasted another day. And the third day says, I can't believe this. I'm going nuts. Look at this. An oil that was supposed to last only one day is already the second day that it doesn't finish, and then so the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day, and so forth and so on. But in fact, the entire miracle, the miraculous oil was the one that was put in the menorah the first day. It's because it was enough for one day we didn't see the miracle. We thought, well, duh, you put enough for one day, it burns for one day. No, but the point is that this is an oil, the miracle was already, it was miraculous enough to last for 8 days, but we just didn't know about it. Which means that the first day where you didn't see any miracle is actually where the miracle happened. The second day, where we went like, wow, that's the first revelation of that miracle that was hidden on the first day. The third day was even a bigger revelation of the miracle of the first day. The fourth day was even bigger wow. But it was just a revelation for us in this world, the way we see it. This is unbelievable. We didn't know it's going to last for 8 days. We thought it was only going to last for one day. As we only in retrospect, we can actually see the miracle all happened the first day. But it was totally concealed. It was concealed kaviyachol in nature. Should have been enough for one day. What's the big deal? No. It was already 8 days on that, but it was totally concealed because the bina is totally concealed in this world. All we see is just a manifestation of the bina. That's why in Hanukkah it says, Bnei Vino, the children of Bino, Yemei Shmoina, 8 days. So that explains the machlokes of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. We know that Beis Shammai, the halacha is going to be like Beis Shammai in the future. The halacha is like Beis Hillel now. Beis Shammai said that what is the truth? The truth is that the first day contains the entire miracle. Subsequent days of Hanukkah are just an expression of that miracle. But it's not the miracle itself. So Beis Shammai says, being that the real miracle is the first day, so according to Beis Shammai, you light 8 candles the first day to celebrate the entire miracle. The second day is already 1 day less from the 8th day of the miracle, so we only light 7. And so forth and so on. In other words, according to the truth, it gets smaller and smaller as we get along, as we go on. But the entire thing was miraculous to begin with. That's why Beis Shammai says, you start with 8 and you go down all the way to 1. Beis Hillel says, look, we live in this world and we have the 2020 is only a hindsight. So we saw the first day is enough, there's enough oil for 1 day, so we light 1 day. Then the second day we see, look, a miracle. It's a smaller miracle, enough oil for 2 days. So we light 2. So that, wow, already, look, for 1 day, for 3 days, look, we light 3, and so forth and so on. The miracle of Hanukkah is that the darkness has an end. It has its time, and then it ends. There has never been a tyranny on the face of the earth that lasted. I mean, the Roman Empire, 400 years. It's over. All the tyrannies in the world, they all have their end. They change here, they change there, whatever it is, but themselves they end. So whenever it is that you find yourself, I don't know when is this going to end and where this particular thing is leading me. You should know. Ketz Sam Lachoshech. There are quite a lot of things that this week's parsha is awakening, but being this is not a parsha share, let's without further ado, let's go into sipurey baal shemtov, as this is obviously the thing that we meant to do on Moshe Shabbos for Sichos Haran. It says on Friday, says the Maisa, the Talmidim, two of the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov were traveling to Mezhigorj to be the Baal Shem Tov for Shabbos. Now, it was a very narrow road, and before them was a magnificent coach of what they call the Puritz, the feudal lord of that particular area. And it was going slowly, was moving slowly. And the chassidim that were behind him could not overtake the coach of the parts, and they had no choice except to lag behind. Now, according to the speed of the travel of that coach of the landlord, of the overlord, there was no chance to get to Mezhigorj for Shabbos. Obviously, nobody had the temerity to ask the parts to, move over with his coach and let them pass. So their choice is obviously to spend Shabbos somewhere along the road. One of the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov, was very worried, and he told his friend, like, look what happened, look at this misfortune. What kind of Shabbos are we going to have in the middle of the road? We didn't take challahs, we don't have wine. His friend says, what are you getting upset? Kadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. You know that whatever Kadosh Baruch Hu does is good. But Kadosh Baruch Hu runs the show. They kept on going slowly. After half an hour, this student again, gets edgy. And he says, okay, Chachik, at least we have Sidurim by us. And David, his friend again, strengthened him. Don't worry, bad things do not come from above. Everything's the tova. And they kept on going for 2 more hours like that. Then, suddenly, close to a village, they saw a very, very long line of wagons blocking the road. The local over there just, parked their wagons in the middle of the road, and everybody went to have a good time. There was some kind of a festival. I don't know, maybe a pumpkin growing contest, whatever. I'm not sure what it is. Whatever it was, and everybody was happy, blocking the road. There were bonfires burning beside, long tables with food and everything, pies and whatever it is that they made. And the wagon of the coach of the party stops, and the wagon driver asked the villagers to get off the road. But they didn't pay attention to him. Well, the feudal lord saw this, and he himself came off his coach. And the minute that the villagers saw, their landlord, their feudal lord, immediately they moved their wagons out of the way, and the purchase coach proceeded. And obviously, that coach of the wagon with the chassidim behind him. After about 5 minutes ride, the wagons got to a fork in the road. The wagon, the coach of the parts went to the right side. The Chassidim went straight to Mezhebozh without any disturbance. So the Chassid, the one that had the trust, told his friend, you see, if the wagon of the parts would not have been before us, we wouldn't get to Mezhebozh at all. The villagers wouldn't have looked at us, what we would have asked them to move. So Kodesh Baruch Hu sent the wagon, the coach of the parts before us, to make sure that our way will be paved to get to Mezhebozh. Well, now they speed it up. It's himself, they got to Mezhebozh before Shabbos. They got into an inn. They took the mikveh, they have a mincha in a minyan, and they spend the Shabbos with Baal Shemtov. Once the Shabbos, they came to say goodbye to Baal Shem HaKodesh. They told him about this magnificent hashgacha that they had. So Baal Shem Tov listened to them and he says, what do you think that happened? He says, because you believe that everything is l'tova, this is the thing that affected your Yeshua. Your emunah, that everything that Hashem does is good, that's the thing that saved you. That's the thing that brought the deliverance, nothing else. Ad Kan is the Ma'aseh of Baal Shem Tov for this week. And let us, without further ado, let's get to Sichos Haran and see. We haven't actually reached Sichos Haran in quite a while. So we are Sicha number 98, Tzadik Ches. The saying of Tehillim is an extremely, extremely high inyan, because as if David the Melech himself is saying it. Because David the Melech said Tehillim Ruach HaKodesh, and Ruach HaKodesh is injected, rests within the words, and when you are saying them, you are awakening, you are resuscitating with the spirit of your mouth, the Ruach HaKodesh that exists, that is dormant in the words, and it awakens them. And it says, and it's very, very mesugal to give refuah to a chayla, that he should have his bitochen only in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that by saying the Tehillim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will save him. And this bitochen that we just spoke, about the story of the Baal Shem Tov, is a mishenis. It's a staff that you can lean on. It's like when a person is leaning on a staff, the same way he's leaning on the bitochen, that he trusts HaKadosh Baruch Hu to save him. Ve'i Hashem lemish only. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be I can lean on him, and he'll prop me up. This is the thing. It gives refuah to the chodesh. It says, Ki'im yakum. This is when shmois, when we talk about when somebody gets healthy. L'maisa, this Chumash talks about the laws of compensation. What happens if somebody damaged somebody? It says, "V'him yakum v'yisalach b'chutz al mishantoi v'nikom." If that person that was damaged, was injured, should get up and walk outside using his stuff, the staff that he's leaning on, v'nikom, that whoever that damaged him is no longer liable if chas v'chalila that person should pass away afterwards or whatever. And obviously he's liable for refuah and whatever, everything else, but he's no longer liable if chas v'chalila that person died. And he says, "V'yatza choiter megeza Isha," and let there come a branch out of the root of Isha. That talks about Mashiach. That's David HaMelech. Mashiach Hashem. And it says, and we see that we're talking about here a staff, which is a branch from the root of Yishai. Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach Hashem. Rabbeinu says this is all also what the Gemara says, Osid Tzadikim, that they will rejuvenate, they will revive the dead by using the staff they lean on. A person has his staff that he leans on. As Elisha told Gehazi, you put my staff which I lean on the face of the boy in order to rejuvenate. Gehazi, was supposed to keep his mouth shut until he did that, and he didn't do it, so it didn't work. But that is the tool to revive the dead. Adkan. He says all that was not written properly. Most of it is missing. But whatever it is, we're able to catch in our mind. Ernest says, here's what we wrote. And then Rabbeinu says as follows: Choref, winter, Ubchinas Iber, that's pregnancy. The kites, Ubchinas Leidem, and kites in the summer is an aspect of birth. And then he spoke with us an amazing talk, and most of it was forgotten. And whatever it is I still remember, says Nelson, is the fact Rabbeinu spoke about the Indian of summer that was coming. And that Sicha was in the days of Nisan before Pesach, the time of the bris milah of his son, Shlomo Ephraim Zichron Bracha, who was supposed to be Mashiach. And Rabbeinu spoke, and then he said that in the winter, all the plants are all dead, and the koyach, is exhausted in the winter. And then they are in an aspect of death. And then when the summer comes, they all are awakening and they are alive. And then it says, and then it is very auspicious, it's very good. When you go out to the field, you go out to the field, and you go out to speak in the field, siach, and when all the plants, all the shrubs in the field all awaken, this is a good time to speak, because they give all the koyach into your prayer. They all start to live, they all start to grow. They're all yearning to be included in your prayer. And Rabbeinu continued and spoke this particular sermon at great length about this and other inyanim. We spoke about this Indian, and we keep on speaking about the Indian of Isbedidus and Tefillah again and again and again. Medicine will speak again and again and again. But there's a certain nakuda that has to do with Ketzam Lachashach, which puts an end to darkness. And this Indian of Bitochon and this Indian of Tefillah, both Tehillim and Isbedidus, when you're going out of town, you're going to the field, and you're speaking amongst the plants. And that is that it is totally, it's amazing how limited we are to seeing things from a very, very limited, this worldly point of view. Chanukah, we're taking a look at the candles, and what we see is just a point of light. That's all we see. When you look closer, there's something very warm. No pun intended, but there's something warm about Neres Chanukah, about the light of Neres Chanukah. Neres Chanukah are very different than the Neres of Shabbos Kodesh. Neres Chanukah are lit Lamata Maser Tzrachim. The Ner Shabbos is supposed to be lit above. It's supposed to light up the house. That's why it says that Ner Shabbos is according to everything, because it's supposed to provide illumination to the house. Shalom Bais. The Ners of Shabbos is Shalom. The light of Ners Chanukah contain the organos, that hidden light. The light that is concealed and will only be revealed to the tzaddikim la'osid lavin in the future. Now it is concealed. We said that this is light, we spoke about it. This light is a light that enables a person to see from one world, from one point of the world, one end of the world to the next. And we said this does not mean just geographically between him and here in America or Siberia or whatever, but it means that you see to the very root of creation. You know, the very beginning of Olam Atzilus, you see everything. Whatever it is that you look at with this kind of light, you see godliness constricted into the form of whatever it is that you're looking at. Everything is Hashem. And here it is constricted into a little point of light. When you're looking at it, you are absorbing that light. And that light enters into your neshama, and it will light all the lights of the candles that you have ever lit in your life, and all those that you will forever be these nakudas of light that will shine to you forever. It comes to tell you that right now you see only a small little sprinkle of, sparkle of light. But it really is, it's an infinite light. It's a light of Simchas Olam Rosh. It's a light of infinity. When you put this together with Bitochen, and you put this together with the Inyan of Tehillim, you're putting this together with the situation where a person needs deliverance. And then you put it together with the Inyan of Tzedakah, and you bring it all up with the fact that you may be having serious problems making it better. Even opening the mouth to say anything can be problematic. Can do it maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds, maybe a minute, maybe, I don't know, each one accordingly. Maybe half an hour to an hour, maybe every once in a while. So you can stand there looking frustrated. And this is like, what's going to be with me? What's the story? I have here these magnificent tools, the Tehillim, but I don't open it. I have a Tehillim. When I read it, Tehillim is basically like a spiritual equivalent of uranium, 258. That means like, 250, 254, 53. I don't know which one is the one that produces the chemical reaction, the nuclear explosion. But the point is that it's jam-packed. You have here every single word of Tehillim is jam-packed with energy, with Ruach HaKodesh. The only thing that it needs to release that energy, to release that potential, is to say them. And I don't open up at Tehillim. Here I have a tremendous opportunity to make his Beirut, to go to the Koisel, to go to the Feld and talk to Kodesh Baruch Hu. And I don't even know if I bother giving reasons to why I don't do it. Maybe even I'm asking Kodesh Baruch Hu to help me do it. but I'm still not doing it. So I can fall into thinking that besides the fact that I'm not good, I'm not good, not just a little bit good, whatever it is. But the main thing, the main weapon over here of tefillah, of tehillim, of hisbedus, I don't have any of this. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? The answer is have bitachon. You already are making hisbedus. I make hisbedus. I know I'm not making it. No. When you're saying these two words, I can't make hisbedus, and try helping make hisbedus, that is hisbedus. The fact that you're saying Tehillim, in the morning during davening. Maybe sometimes it's said Tehillim, maybe not. Whatever. Shia Malos, it says, okay, everybody all the entire Tehillah, that is saying Tehillim. Yeah, but that's not what Rabbeinu means. Yeah, Rabbeinu means that you should take a sefer Tehillim and B'ezrat Hashem say the Tehillim and mean it about yourself. But you have to understand the fact that you want to say Tehillim, the fact that you want to make this way to do, and you are unable to say it. You can't get yourself to say it. You can't force yourself to sit down, whatever the reason might be, is you being stuck behind the coach of the parts of the learner. You feel frustrated. Why don't they let me just forge ahead? Why don't they let me just say it, just daven, just say Tehillim, so make his beidados? I can't even open up my mouth. I ask Kodesh Baruch Hu, help me open up my mouth, and I'm not able. The fact that you are there and you want to do it, Rabbeinu says, is great, even if you're unable to say anything at all. As long as you want to, you prepare yourself to, you are already be'inyan of bitochen. You're already be'inyan of hisbedus. How much you're successful? You keep on asking, you keep on hoping, you keep on yearning for Kodesh Baruch Hu to open up the road for you. The fact that your road is blocked is for your own good. How? I don't know, like these chassidim that went behind the coach, to the baal shemtov. They had no idea what's the reason that Kodesh Baruch Hu was doing it. Kodesh Baruch Hu knows why he's doing it. The only reason what I'm telling you is not that you shouldn't worry about it. Forget. You should push for it. You should worry about it. Because the worrying about it, the trying to do it, the being frustrated in doing it, but realizing that there's a reason for it, that in itself is the hisbedus. That in itself is the thing that's going to bring your deliverance. Why? Because we have a rule of Ketz Sham Samachoshes. There's an end to the darkness. There's an end to the night. There's an end of you not being able to say what it is that you want to say. There's an end to whatever it is, to the kind of deliverance that you need. That Hashem Kodesh Baruch Hu will give it to you. Don't worry about it. Whatever is happening to you is a miracle of Chanukah. Whatever is happening to you, you, a Jew, going on through this world, with various difficulties and challenges and whatever it is, it's all out there. It's all Kodesh Kodeshim. You look like somebody from Dubuque, I don't know, from Idaho. You may look like somebody from there, like maybe you don't actually look like them, but whatever it is, but it seems like they struggle with the same thing. They need parnasa, you need parnasa. They need health, you need health. They need shlom bayis, you need shlom bayis. They need to get married, you need to get married. They need to, to raise the children, you need to raise the children. But it's a totally different thing. a completely different thing. Theirs is an existence of this world. Yours is Kodesh Kodeshim. It looks the same, makes the same noises. It may feel the same, but it's a totally different thing. Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu did not make you go, he made you a Jew. The little that you manage to do, the frustrations and the belief that the Kodesh Baruch Hu knows what he's doing, this is the Hizbodedus. Little or a lot, you're making Hizbodedus. You say a little to him, you say a lot, this is the Hizbodedus because you want to. When will I finally? In every single nakuda that you manage, I manage, is Oregonals. That's the hidden light. It's the infinite light. It's the light that's going to light for both you and for me, this world with the next world. Forever. Baruch is with us. Baruch Hashem, we're in good hands. With Rabbeinu HaKadosh, that specifically told us to lean on his koyach, to lean on his strength, to lean on his chos. We just learned that leaning, the staff that you lean on, that Rabbeinu says, lean on me, is the thing that brings the dead alive. Nobody is deader than me. To lean on Rabbeinu's koyach to bring me alive, in any kind of aspect, it could be shidduchim, it could be anything. Oh Hashem, it's so difficult just to wipe, move aside this world outlook that prevents me from seeing what an unbelievable, infinite, timeless, beyond time existence that I live right now, tonight. It's Motzei Shabbos Chanukah. Rabbeinu is with us. It's Rosh chodesh. Tremendous, just being. We don't have to do anything. You don't have to move anywhere. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to climb. You don't have to make millions. None. We are in it. I can't see it. What's in front of me? The wagon, the coach of the pirates is in front of me. That's what this car is for. First of all, should grant each and every one of us a good chodesh and a freilichen Chanukah and a wonderful week and wonderful health and parnasa and shidduchim and whatever it is that you need, whatever it is that each and every one of us needs, at Hashem, Klal Yisrael, Yeshua Shloimo, Mizat Hashem, Bias Mashiach Tzidkenu, Mizat Hashem, Makar Mamash. He's already here. The Yeshua is already here. It's just the wagon of the coach of the puritz is in front of our face. So he says, when will it happen? It's already happening. It's already happening. That should help us. Shkoyach Gadol for coming, being a guest of Mr. Shabbos. It's tremendous. I don't know if you can just stop there.